Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right into some really powerful material from Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, specifically from his book, Becoming Supernatural.
And we're going to be extremely focused in this dive. Our entire mission, really, is to break down one of the most foundational practices he teaches.
Right.
We're talking about the specific breathing technique designed to activate the pineal gland.
And if you've come across this work before, you'll know this isn't just, take a deep breath and relax.
Not at all.
Our sources present this as a piece of conscious engineering. It's a very precise physiological process that demands your total intention.
And it's all designed to change your body's energy and, this is the crucial part, free your mind from the chemical baggage of the past.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, we think understanding the mechanism, the how and the why, is what makes this a powerful tool instead of just some random exercise.
That's it. When you understand the physics, the neurochemistry, the step-by-step, you can execute it with a much more profound effect.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I think we should start with the problem this technique is designed to solve. Dr. Dispenza argues that most of us are operating with our energy sort of tied up, trapped in what he calls the survival centers.
Right.
What are these centers, and what does it even mean for energy to be stuck there?
So the survival centers, they correlate with the first three lower energy centers in the body. They're basically the home base for our chronic, habitual, survival-based emotions.
So when we're living in fear or anger or shame.
Exactly. You are chemically reinforcing those centers over and over again.
Can you give us a quick example of how that energy gets locked in?
Sure. Think about it like this. The first center, which is related to our base instincts, it tends to store energy tied to, say, lust or just basic anxieties about survival.
Okay.
Then you move up to the second center. That's where we tend to lock in feelings like fear, shame, guilt, unworthiness. If you're constantly cycling through those emotions, your body is literally producing the chemicals that keep you addicted to that state.
And
The third center houses things like chronic anger, frustration, control issues. Your body's chemistry literally becomes the memory of your past.
so if you're constantly worried about money or you're always frustrated in traffic, You're basically running a little chemical factory that keeps that energy congested in those lower centers.
That's a perfect way to put it. You're signaling the same genes, you're recreating the same self day after day.
So the purpose of this breath is liberation.
It is. It's to channel that stuck, low-frequency energy and move it upward, to evolve it from those survival centers into the higher centers, the ones for creation, insight, healing.
It's a literal conscious effort to, as he says, pull the mind out of the body.
Right, to pull your awareness away from the emotional programs that keep you tethered to your past self.
Okay, and for this to work, the source material says the body has to first become like a magnet. I love this pivot into physics. How do we turn a human body into a magnet?
Well, it all comes down to polarity. If you think back to, basic physics, any strong magnet has a clear north pole and a south pole, a positive and a negative charge.
Right.
The strength of the electromagnetic field that magnet produces is directly related to the difference in charge, the polarity between those two poles.
And the stronger that polarity, the bigger the field you generate. So you become a more powerful receiver and a more powerful transmitter.
Precisely. The goal is to create an extreme charge differential right along the central axis of the spine. We're aiming to run a massive current up that axis.
So you're turning the base of the spine into the south pole.
And the brain into the north pole. And this is where we move from the metaphor of a magnet to the actual mechanics of fluidodynamics.
This is where it gets really interesting for me because the key thing being moved here isn't just air, it's fluid.
It's the cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. And the thing is, CSF isn't just water. It's a charged solution. It's full of proteins and salts. And according to the laws of electromagnetism, if you take a charged molecule like in the CSF and you accelerate it, you create something called an inductance field.
So our body is essentially acting like a biological generator.
That's it. By accelerating this charged fluid up the spine, we start to create this invisible but powerful three-dimensional field of electromagnetic energy.
And that field is what starts to pull that stuck energy from the lower centers upward toward the brain.
That's the core concept.
Yeah.
But, this raises the most critical question. How on earth do you physically, intentionally accelerate fluid inside your own spinal column?
Yeah, that sounds like an incredible feat of internal control.
It is. It requires a very coordinated and sustained muscular action. It's the intentional contraction of what the sources call the intrinsic muscles of your core.
So you have to contract and hold the muscles that line up with those first three centers.
Exactly. The pelvic floor, the lower abdomen, and the upper abdomen. This sustained upward squeeze is what physically forces the CSF up the spinal column.
So someone trying this can't just, you know, tense their abs. They have to engage these deep internal muscles starting right from the very base.
That's the key.
It sounds so mechanical, though. I mean, if the goal is this spiritual, energetic liberation, why is the process so focused on this almost violent mechanical squeezing?
Because that mechanical action is the trigger. It's required to set off the specific biological event that comes next. And the target is the pineal gland.
Okay, so the accelerated fluid reaches the brain. Tell us what that pressure does to the pineal gland specifically.
Well, the pineal gland is unique. It actually contains microscopic crystals inside of it.
Really?
Yes. So when you hold your breath and you maintain that forceful squeeze of the intrinsic muscles, you generate what's called increased intrathecal pressure.
Which is just the pressure inside the sheaths around the spinal cord and brain.
Right. And that pressure pushes more of this cerebrospinal fluid into the brain's ventricles, specifically the third ventricle, which sits right next to the pineal gland.
Ah, so it physically compresses the gland.
It compresses the crystals within the gland, and that mechanical stress instantly creates an electrical charge. This is a well-known phenomenon in physics called the piezoelectric effect.
Piezoelectricity. Okay, I need a quick analogy that sounds super technical.
Think of a simple BBQ lighter, the kind you click.
Okay.
There's no battery. You click the button, and that's a mechanical action that squeezes a tiny crystal inside. That pressure generates a high-voltage spark.
Ah, got it.
In this case, your body's squeeze is the mechanical activator, and the pineal gland's crystals are generating an internal high-frequency spark.
That is brilliant. So the mechanical stress creating an electrical signal, that's the first non-negotiable step for activation. That explains everything about why the squeeze has to be so intense.
It anchors the physics right to the biological outcome. So now that we know the mechanism, we can get into the practical side. For you, the listener, mastering these steps with the right intention, that's everything.
Okay, let's break this down step by step. How do we prepare the body and, set the target?
First, you need to be sitting up straight. And for a bit of guidance at the beginning, you can place a finger lightly on the very top of your head. That's your target point. That's the destination for the energy you're about to move.
Okay, ready for the inhale. How fast, how deep should this breath be?
The inhale is critical. It must be a very slow, long, steady breath. And it has to be taken through the nose.
Not the mouth.
Through the nose. The speed should be controlled. It's not a gasp, but a slow, purposeful pull, like you're inflating a balloon over maybe 8 to 10 seconds.
And this has to be perfectly synchronized with the muscle engagement, with the squeeze. Is it a forward crunch or is it more of an upward pull?
It's a deep internal squeeze that generates upward pressure. Imagine you're drawing energy up a chimney. You have to coordinate that slow inhale with an equal contraction of those intrinsic muscles. The perineum, lower abdomen, upper
So
abdomen.
squeezing them upward and inward.
Upward and inward simultaneously for the entire duration of the inhale.
So the moment the air starts coming in your nose, the perineum starts to engage, and that tension just travels up your core, matching the pace of the breath. That sounds like it requires immense focus.
It does, and that focused attention has to follow the physical feeling. Your awareness, your focus, has to track the breath and the energy as it moves from the base up the spine through each center.
Lower abdomen, upper abdomen, chest.
Chest, throat, brain, all the way to the crown of your head where your finger is.
So you're using your consciousness to literally guide the energy you're physically accelerating? I mean, that sounds exhausting. It requires your total presence.
That's the practice. And once the breath reaches the top of your head, when that feeling of pressure and energy is at its max, you pause. You hold the breath for about 10 seconds.
Okay.
And during that hold, your attention stays fixed at the ground, and you have to keep squeezing those muscles to maintain that high pressure.
And that's the moment. That hold is where the piezoelectric spark happens. What about the exhale?
The exhale is just release. You relax the muscles, let the air go fully, the pressure is off, and then you repeat the whole cycle immediately. The recommendation is at least 2 more times.
And the whole time, the intent is to pull the mind out of the body, to liberate that locked up energy.
That is the one and only intention.
This really is a physical meditation. Okay, so now we know the process. Let's talk about the payoff. What happens in the brain when this is done right?
When it's executed successfully, the brain goes into a state of profound arousal and coherence. We see practitioners move through high beta brainwaves, which is intense focus, and then into gamma brainwaves.
And gamma waves are associated with a superconscious state, right?
Exactly. It's where the brain is synthesizing huge amounts of information across all of its regions at once. It's peak coherence.
How does this compare to, a typical state? I've heard about gamma waves in meditation research, but the numbers in these sources they're astounding.
They really are.
Yeah.
Normal gamma amplitude, even when you're in a peak performance state, is pretty low.
Mhm.
In the subjects doing this, we've seen gamma amplitude reach 150 to 260 standard deviations above the baseline.
That's not just a slightly aroused brain. That's a massive, coherent, sustained electrical output.
It signals a huge flow of energy and a profound state change.
Incredible. And this energy creates a powerful dual field around the body, doesn't it?
It does. That initial current flowing up the spine creates the first field, a three-dimensional torus field of electromagnetic energy. It moves up, out, and wraps all the way around the body.
So that's the body becoming the magnet, projecting energy outward.
That's it. But then simultaneously, once the pineal gland is electrically active, into the body through the top of the head.
So you become a powerful antenna, projecting and receiving. Dr. Dispenza calls the pineal gland the brain's alchemist. Why that word alchemist in such a scientific context?
Because it literally transmutes chemistry. As the activated gland picks up these super high frequencies from the field, that energy alters the molecular structure of melatonin.
Which is normally our sleep and dreaming neurotransmitter.
Right. But this isn't just a small tweak. This chemical upgrade transmutes that base melatonin into these profound, lucid, sometimes even hallucinogenic neurotransmitters.
And they prime the brain for what he calls transcendental or mystical experiences.
The higher the frequency of the energy you draw in, the more intense the transmutation. The sources describe it as like a 360-degree IMAX 3D experience.
A hyper-realistic, full sensory perception, but without using your actual senses.
That's the effect of the gland acting as a transducer. It's converting these non-physical signals into vivid, meaningful internal imagery and feeling.
So once the breathing cycles are done, the squeezing is over, you've created this intense internal environment. What's the final crucial step to kind of integrate it all?
You have to rest your attention for 5 to 10 minutes in the area of the gland itself. You start by just focusing on the space between the back of your throat and the back of your head.
The physical location of the gland.
Exactly. Then you gently move your awareness into the chamber of the pineal gland itself, just sensing the space there. This conscious rest gives your nervous system time to integrate this massive shift.
So if we zoom all the way out, the entire technique is a deliberate mechanism to change your body's inner chemical environment, no matter what's happening on the outside.
That's the ultimate takeaway. By successfully changing your body's energy, you are signaling entirely new genes for growth and repair right now. You stop waiting for some future event to make you feel joy.
Right.
And instead, you condition your body to chemically be in that desired future now, breaking free from the past.
And the more elevated the emotion you can generate, gratitude, freedom, whatever it is, the higher the frequency and the faster that biological shift happens.
When you stop reinforcing those old limiting survival emotions through this practice, you inhibit the old genetic program. You stop making the same old proteins, and you start signaling for new proteins that literally create a new structure and function for your body.
So the steps are clear, the physics make sense, and the outcome is staggering.
Yeah.
But if someone listening wants to implement this, what's the single biggest challenge?
You know, the real work isn't the physical squeeze. It's the continuous, intentional choice to break the addiction to your past. The biggest hurdle is overcoming years of automatic, survival-based conditioning. You have to be okay with the discomfort and the effort it takes to go against that stream of familiar, low-frequency emotions, and just practice until the unlimited, elevated ones become your new normal.
So the highest effort is just maintaining that presence and trusting the change, even when your body is screaming to go back to the familiar misery it knows. That is a challenging, but ultimately a very freeing thought to leave you with. Thank you for diving deep with us today.